care of the same way. Then we have other issues, 21st century program going on. The federal budget, the federal government has just cut the budget for that. How will the teachers really be compensated for the shortage that's been taken out of the 21st century program? Saying as far as with the school mode, we don't have adequate time for the teachers, not board members, but administration to put things in place for the teachers to be prepared for school. If we go ahead and do that like right now, teachers are going on summer vacation, I don't know, it's going to be chaos when they come back. Not only will the teachers suffer, the kids going to suffer at the same time because it's not together. Do the board members meet or talk or discuss about these issues beforehand? So if so, like, why not? So when we come and this stuff can be taken care of without all the delays that we've had the past couple of meetings. Right quick, most of the last 3 board meetings I've been to, everything right now is being decided on with racial lines. Blacks voting this way, whites voting this way. Only thing that we're consistent with is agreeing on the agenda and passing minutes and things like that. That's the only thing that the board is like together on. Other than that, it's the whites vote this way, blacks vote that way, and it's obvious. My last thing I got is the alternate board members. I've been to the last 3 board meetings. Y'all work off of Robert Rules of Orders. Like, is it really in Robert's Rules of Order for people to pass notes to the board? It's a long gap between here to here, and it's obvious that someone is getting up, passing notes just straight to this. If that's the case, pass the note to the board chair and let it be read. What else I have? Board chair. All right, we're not gonna move schools, do whatever. What has the board decided to do if we don't move these kids over to the high school and we don't do something? What has the board proposed take place for those kids to be educated in a safe environment? I'm finished.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, and Mr. Frank Harley, and he wants to speak about the needs of the Clio Elementary Middle School.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Tiller. My name is Franklin Harley. I came to revisit a concern that the Clio Concerned Citizen had that I presented, listen at the date, September 14, 2014. We had concerns, and there are 4 major areas that we had: safety, security, instructional needs, and building improvements. The safety and security, secure fencing, particularly at the area between the Woods Avenue and the school. I think that's been addressed. There's several other areas that had not been addressed. That's why I'm revisiting this. Security cameras throughout and around the perimeter of the school. Improve lighting on the outside of the school during winter months. Sunset occur much earlier. And then we got the afternoon programs. Improved lighting is needed for the safety and security of the students and staff. Paving the outside door basketball court. That's been done. Instructional. We don't have a science lab at Clio Elementary Middle. And if Clio Elementary Middle is to continue to be a middle school, then we need these improvements. I think we have transitioned from the interaction board to the small board. That's been addressed. Explore and secure funding to increase technology for all students in using iPads. Okay, building improvements. We asked to install heavy-duty awning at the bus and car riders' walk area around the ground to protect the students. and the staff during the rain and inclement weather. More storage areas is needed inside and outside of the building. And again, if Cloud Elementary is to continue to be a middle school, the athletic facilities, we need locker rooms, showers for the athletic department. We understood at that time when we asked that funding was an issue, but it was 2014, 2017, June 7th, 2017, and most of this have not been addressed. We would like for if we going to continue to be a middle school and a school, we need the same thing that Wallace, Blenheim have. We need showers, we need locker room, we need the same security, we need the same environment that the other schools have. The second thing, call meetings. I'm asking if we could be notified. A lot of times email call meetings on the weekends and Fridays and nobody knows about it. We like to be more informed on call meetings that we be able to attend call meetings. And I think it was addressed earlier, the old Fram commercial, pay me now or pay me later. I think that's been said already. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Second reading of policy BDH, board consultants and staff assistants. Mr. Norton.
We've had the first reading on that amendment to the policy, and I'd like to make the motion that we approve second reading of the revision as it relates to a salary cap for consultant staff assistants of $30,000 per school year without board approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say,
Mr. Coachman.
I'm not in support of this, but I think it takes the duty and the job of the superintendent out of her hand and basically cripples her and able to hire somebody putting $30,000 stipend. I don't think that is something the board needs to be interfering with, but it is what it is, and just like you said, the vote will tell you how we're going to vote again on this issue.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
I agree with Mr. Coachman that as board members, our responsibility to make board policies and leave it up to the administration to do their job to notify us when we need consulting. And I think if we start capping and start putting things in place, that we'll really hand tying our superintendent for doing her job.
Any other discussion? Mr. Driggers.
I understand the concern, but help me out if you can. But my understanding of this motion is that there's a $30,000 cap upon the employee. Once he or she reaches that, then it is brought back to the board and we can approve another $30,000 for that consultant. It's not that that consultant will only get $30,000. It is that consultant, once he or she reaches that point in payment, they come back and justify to us why we still need that consultant to move forward into the year. Am I correct in the way I'm understanding this motion?
That's correct.
Okay.
Ms. Fleming.
I'm thinking if we have an ongoing consultant, say an electrician, and we're going to need him all the time, and for us to come back, we know we need him, that it's a critical service, a plumber, air conditioner person. We know we have an idea what those salaries pays. Why do we can't hardly get together and meet for a retreat to discuss some of the things we need, and here we are saying, okay, we got a plumber, he's a good one, but he's made $30,000, I'm going to have to let you go for 2 weeks until I go to my board and get approval, and then you come back, he'll be gone somewhere else. That's my problem, because those they are critical needs that this school district needs to have, and they need the flexibility to keep the people that they need to run this district. And I'm thinking that we're taking that away are you slowing the progress down because we want to micromanage? And I just don't, I would rather that we didn't do it, simply because of those critical needs that we, I mean, there are those needs like that, you just can't put it off. Bathroom flooding, the building's hot, the building's cold.
We have.
And we've had to, when we went out the first of the year looking for air conditioning people, they had to find qualified people who was able to come into the schools to work, meaning they had to pass background checks. And now we're saying, y'all can come in, we passed all that, but when you reach that threshold of 30,000, we got to go all through this process again. That is not, that's not what I would like to be doing.
Ms. Bright?
The $30,000 cap, where did that number come from?
No.
Mr. Norton?
I mean, where he get it from? I mean, where did?
There was a 60-day number. It's already been put into this policy, 60 days. And you, Ms. Fleming mentioned continuously using someone. Well, you may need to use them more than 60 days as well as $30,000.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking 60 days, $500 a day is a pretty good little bit of money for a consultant. Now, as far as a consultant like you are referring to, there would be nothing wrong with Dr. Tiller or the senior cabinet coming up with a list of those people that she knows automatically is going to need more than $30,000 in a year. Say those HV. And present it early and say 60,000. Once she gets near 60, she could come back again. When you can call a special meeting for a $274 field trip, I don't see why you can't call a meeting when it works with money of this nature. That's
So
fine.
$30,000 was just a number you made up? That you just came up
It's arbitrary.
with? That you
Yeah.
just came up with?
It's arbitrary, just like the 60 days or any other.
Okay, I was just trying to figure
Yeah,
out where
it's
the
arbitrary.
$30,000 come from.
It just
Was
seemed like that was
Did it
enough.
have some significance, or was
No.
it just a number that popped up?
I have something to, yeah. The kinds of people that you were listing
Vendors.
are vendors. They are not consultants. Vendors are people that provide services with the facilities and that kind of thing. And historically, I want everyone to remember that the reason this issue of consultants came up is because teachers were retiring and going to, at that point, it was 0 years experience and the lowest degree and so on, and they were very much hampered in what they could make. There were some people who retired and ended up consultants and making an amount of money that had a lot of disparity. And we were trying to come up with a fair plan that would prevent some people from retiring and going that way, and other people in retiring and going that way. And that's what started this whole issue 3 years ago about consultants. Dr. Tiller.
Thank you, Ms. Parsons. I'd just like to share that I think that we have to be very careful with what we do with this policy, not to be discriminating against certain people, because that's the road we're headed down, from the standpoint that what we can pay retirees, that is determined by the board and the State Department. For example, it depends on when a person retired. Now, if you got caught under the $10,000 cap, that's state law. That's not Dr. Tiller's decision. That's not the board's decision. That's state law. If it was after September, I think it was September 3rd, 2013, there was January, it was a $10,000 cap. So if someone retired before then and they were not under that $10,000 cap, then we can't just decide that we arbitrarily want to do these things, because what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up. And the other thing is this, there are a lot of vendors that we deal with that provide services, not just HVAC. We have other vendors, folks that come in and do professional development for us from different companies. They're considered vendors as well, and consultants. So again, as superintendent, with all due respect to the board, whatever the board wants to do is fine with me, but I think you do not realize how much you are stepping over into the administrative side, and how time consuming it's going to be for you all as board members, because I don't know that you're really understand the number of consultants and how these things, we're in and out of these agreements all the time, from school to school and then district-wide, because it's not just consultants from the district level. We have things that principals are involved in as well, deciding, making decisions for their schools. So you're not only going to be taking my authority away, but you're also going to be taking the authority of micromanaging principals and the entire administrative team. But with all due respect, that's the board decision. It's not my decision.
Mr. Parks, Mr. Parks.
Ms. Fleming, would you like to be recognized?
Thank you, Ms. President. May I be recognized?
You may.
Thank you. Just off the, we have a school consultant that's been consulting with us for a few years on our buildings. And I know that's, are they under that $30,000 cap?
Good question.
Which consultant are you referring to, Dr. Stevenson?
No, I'm talking about an ongoing consultant that we had for our building person for the last 3 schools that we built.
They were accounted for as an employee of the district.
They were kind of what now?
Accounted for as an employee of the district.
At their request, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, what are they classified now? Still as an employee?
Still as an employee.
Is they work
We're not making any payment.
Pardon me?
We're not making any payment to that individual.
Okay. All right. We just want to clear that.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to call for the question.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Did you vote with us? So we had 4 and 3. And are you abstaining?
I'm abstaining until I can research it a little more.
All right, the motion's carried. All right. We need to schedule a workshop
Wait a minute.
with
Wait a minute, Madam Chair. That motion was not carried.
Oh, I'm sorry. I counted 1.
2, 3, 4.
Oh, okay, all right. So then it's
Motion
a
denied.
failed vote.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I counted wrong.
4 to 4.
4 to 4.
And I believe
tie
that,
is
this has been passed through legal, but I would like to reiterate that I would like our attorneys to take a look at this.
Okay, all right.
Do I need to put that in a motion, or can you get that? Oh, thank you.
Okay, all right. Sorry I miscounted. Mocking is always such fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, especially when,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
yes, especially when we can blatantly
right.
see it. Woo.
All right. We need to schedule a workshop with Ms.
No, you're
Haas.
skipping individual for July.
Beg your pardon?
Individual board items for July board meeting.
Oh. Who has something? Mr. Woods.
I would like for us to ask the superintendent that we all agreed on that, like Mrs. Onasia said, that we voted to use Duff and Child on month to month, and we also agreed to have a workshop to hear from other attorneys to decide what firm we're going to go with. I'd like for that to be on the agenda so we can schedule a date for that workshop.
All right. Anyone else? Mr. Coach?
Yes, I'd like to visit the lighting situation for the ball field at Wallace and see if get an update on Duke Energy or whoever's supposed to be providing the services for the lighting on the football field at Wallace. It'll be football season soon, and just trying to make sure that we get everything in
Who else?
I'm sorry, Ms.
Branch?
Parsons. Okay, Mr. Branch, get finished. Go ahead.
I've already gotten you,
No,
right?
I got one more. Go ahead, Ms. Branch.
I'd like to have a discussion about the graduation ceremony, possibility of doing it in the evening.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Earlier in the morning, yeah, that's not.
7:30, be good. All right,
All right, who else?
I got one more.
Mr. Woods?
I would like for Dr. Tiller or her administration that the concerns of Clio, could they find out exactly what all need to be done at that school so we could try to get that taken care of with the cameras and that, what nature of that status for Clio?
I have one more. I'm sorry, I forgot.
All right, Mr. Coachman?
I'd like to say, once we have this workshop, let's come up with a final verdict on what we're going to do for as reconfiguration with the children here and BIS and for the district, so we can move forward, that there would not be any delay, and we can know what our budget will look like, and the parents can know where their children are going to be, or what things that we're going to put in place for them. We need to make a final decision.
You're wanting to wait till July to do that?
Well, if we're going to do it before then, I can do it tonight.
Well,
We can vote on it right now.
we can't wait till July.
Well, let's vote on it tonight then.
I mean, it's already on here to
Okay.
schedule a special call meeting to discuss. You see that?
Yeah, but there's no date on it. But anyway.
Well, that's why it says schedule.
Okay.
Well, I think he's saying no later than July, which I think is,
No, that's what I'm,
About
exactly
next
what I'm
week.
saying.
that's what he's saying, no later than July.
I mean, we
If do it
delayed
before
it.
then, that's fine.
We had 3 meetings, met with the
Yeah.
parents 4 or 5 times. We didn't did anything yet.
Does
So,
next week suit you?
Yes, ma'am. The date was
Okay.
soon.
Well, we're busy today.
And that's what we take, busy taking care of the business.
All right, so can we take off of yours the thing, since we're already going to have that done before July?
Yes, ma'am, you
All right.
can.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Branch?
I know Mr. Woods asked for a list of the things need to be done, on the security cameras. While they're doing that, if it's possible, any other school that doesn't have cameras, let's, we could get a price on that or an estimate.
Okay, anybody else?
No, I'm just waiting on the meeting.
Yeah.
So we can see what we're gonna do with BIS.
Okay, all right. Okay. So now, let's schedule a workshop with Ms. Heiser and Mr. Gallagher.
We've done that, haven't we?
We've done that.
I don't think there's anything else they can share with us.
Are they,
Well,
well, that's what they would be coming back for, wouldn't it?
Just tell us how we can raise the money. I think didn't we ask them to give us
Funding sources.
some dollar amounts?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't
well-
finished with them.
Maybe we can do both of those, that would be fine with me. We do both when we do the reconfiguration.
All right. Can we do that next week on Monday?
Suits me.
Should we contact them first to see if they have the information for us?
Well, what we can do here, if it's agreeable with you all, is schedule the meeting to discuss reconfiguration, and we're doing the mold, I hope, Wednesday, if that's agreeable with everybody.
This Wednesday coming?
This coming, like 2 days
Okay,
from now,
all
the
right,
mold man can come on Wednesday.
Ms. Parsons, I can't make it Wednesday.
Can we make it earlier so that you're,
I will be out of town on Wednesday.
Well, we need that
Any other
road
day,
report.
any other day but Wednesday.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
What time Wednesday, because I didn't hear.
Well, 6 o'clock was what I was going to propose.
How about Thursday?
Any other day but Wednesday, I can make it.
Mr. Childs, what days, I can't remember, what days he could come next week other than Wednesday?
He said he would.
hold the 7th for us, which is Wednesday, or the 14th or 15th.
We need to have that report earlier so that we can go ahead with the reconfiguration. Mr. Woods, would you mind? Can we go ahead and...
I have no problem. You go ahead and do what you need to do, because my concern is what she overlooked when I had refrigeration by Artemis Woods. My concern is the students and the staff.
Right.
Because like I was at the graduation, all the staff at School of Discovery coming to me about what we're going to do, so y'all can go ahead, but that's my main concern, making sure that these kids safe and the staff is safe. So you
Let's go ahead then, and I'd make a motion that we have the mold engineer here Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Make it back, I try.
Hey,
Well, we got the report.
can we get that
No, but
meeting done?
if I can make it back, I'll try to make it back, but I'm just letting you know Wednesday's bad for me, but y'all go ahead.
All right. Ms. Parsons, would that be an open meeting? Wednesday? Mr. Graham, please try and come.
All y'all need to go.
Please try to come, because I heard your concerns, and I feel what you're saying, and I think, as you so eloquently put it, I think you need to be here.
And that's okay with you?
Yeah, I'll try to make it back, but y'all go ahead, because it need to be done.
And any other person that has a concern about the mold at Bennettsville Intermediate, I wish you would show up.
All right, okay,
I just wanted to appeal to the board, if it's any way possible, if you already know what you'd like to move forward with for the other schools, other than the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at BIS, that we move forward with that. If you could possibly take a vote tonight. At this point, we're right into June. I have a small staff. It's going to take us all of the rest of the weeks we have just to make those moves, just to get people in place. And to be honest with you, and I know Ms. McCall can attest to it, some teachers are waiting to decide whether they're staying because they're waiting to see what we're going to do. And that's just kind of keeping us in a bad situation, in that I'm not able to tell them. And I don't want us to continue to lose people because I can't tell them.
All right. Madam Chairman, excuse me, I think we're all aware that we're under a time constraint, and we want our children to be in safe places.
Right.
If we have the mold engineer on Wednesday and we have a meeting on the following Monday, I'd like to hear what he has to say, have people question him, make sure that we're satisfied with whatever we're being told about the situation at Bennettsville Intermediate, because it will make a difference to me as to where we place those children. So then have a meeting on Monday to deal with the reconfiguration.
But
That was the 12th.
I'm not speaking about the children at the intermediate school. I'm talking about Clio,
we
School
heard
of
you.
Discovery, and the 6th
I'm
grade.
gonna loop right back to that in just a minute. Everybody just stay calm. Okay.
But
so
I got to chime in too.
All right.
But some of the information we get Wednesday may make a decision a little bit different. I think that's what Ms. Onasia is trying to say. I've read the report. I'm sure you guys have read the report. They'll send it to you also. But I'm just saying, we're going to have that presented by Mr. Sharp Wednesday for the public, and it's going to be printed in the paper and all that for everybody to look at and everything. But some of the things that he presents may change something about how you feel. I mean, I don't know that it will or it won't, but I'm just saying, we paid this man to go do this thing. Let's listen to him and then decide from there. And maybe we can, I don't know about the next Monday, maybe we can do it Wednesday after we hear the report. But I mean, you know, what I'm trying to say is I think we should listen to the gentleman since we paid him to do the work, and we should be presented so the public can hear it also before any decisions are made. That's
let me
just my
ask you if this
viewpoint
is
on it.
agreeable with everyone. The Wednesday meeting on the 7th, this Wednesday, make it a special call meeting so that if we are satisfied with part of the reconfiguration, we would have and we'll put it on the agenda that we could vote. But if we want to delay to vote until the 12th at a special call meeting, then we could do it then. And that's 1 week from now. Mr. Coachman?
Since you brought that up, Madam Chair, I'd just like to make a motion we accept the portion of the reconfiguration that does not include the BIS, and we finish that with the remote report. At this point in time, I would like to make a motion that we accept all portions of the reconfiguration except for the BIS at this time.
Madam Chairman, a point of order, and I
It's a
understand what you're
motion on the
coming
floor.
from.
Did I get a second?
Well,
No, a point of order.
we've already, a point of order, a motion was made that we would not make a decision on reconfiguration until after we received the mold report and had evaluated it. That's a motion that passed.
About a second.
So it is inappropriate for this
It is
motion to
not
be made at
inappropriate
this
for
time.
me to make
Mr.
a motion.
Coachman?
I'm sorry, I feel like it is.
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
It's never appropriate for a board member that's a representative on the board to make a
Well,
motion.
could we amend that prior motion?
if you all will wait just a moment, I'm going to ask the attorney to clarify for us the parliamentary procedure associated with this. Mr. Childs.
I'm not sure I understand exactly the question.
I'm not sure I understand the interruption there with a motion.
Wasn't an
that-
interruption. You notified me. I mean, you recognized me. I mean, you said, Mr. Coachman.
Well, it just sort of wigged off in a different direction. We're trying to schedule 2 meetings. And so I'd like for us to finish that, and then we can go back here for the reconfiguration issue. Mr. Branch.
You know, no matter what that report says, I mean, I've read it, but I'm interested in hearing what he's got to say. I don't think it's going to change the fact that we need to move the School of Discovery to Bloom. I would at least like to do that, because, I mean, I understand there's work that's involved in making a move. Am I correct? Is there any other option for the School of Discovery? I think Bloom is the destination.
I would think for the School of Discovery and also for Clio,
There you
that
go.
we need to move forward, and also for the 6th graders at VIS, we need to move forward. Again, to delay, you know, I have staff, they have their vacations coming up, and again, we're talking about some major moving and coordinating on our part. Sometimes I don't know that people realize how much it takes for us to do the things we do. We always make it happen, but it's not easy. And so again, we've got to give principals an opportunity to organize and decide where they're going to place people, and there's a lot that goes into it. And we need the time. At this point, we're starting school earlier because of the total solar eclipse. And so, and then we're trying to run summer school at the same time. We don't have a lot of time. We're talking about 5 weeks. That's not a long time.
Madam Chair, may I say something?
So-
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Driggers?
Go ahead, Ms. Frank.
Okay, so if a motion was made earlier, can we amend that motion so that we can take a vote on the other schools?
The point was made that we have a motion that was passed in the previous meeting that we would not vote on reconfiguration until we had the mold report and could evaluate it, because that was a part of how the decision would be made.
And the problem is it's not on the agenda to reconsider that.
Right.
Now, it seems to me that there's some middle ground here. What the superintendent is saying is this is a matter of urgency. The chair suggested that this would be consistent with the motion, that we have a meeting on Wednesday and that the board reserve the option of acting on reconsideration Wednesday night. That's 2 days from now. So surely that isn't going to make much of a difference.
Mr. Driggers?
I still have something I'd like to say. I know that most folks have just accepted the Blenheim move to Clio. I have not. I'm sorry, but I have not. I've done some figures, and I'm just going to throw this out at you. K4 through 8th grade in Blenheim is 222 kids. School of Discovery, according to our sheets, is 150. Clio 7th and 8th graders are 38. Bennisville 7th and 8th graders are 176. That's a grand total of 586 kids going to Blenheim. It would still be a true middle school because 7th and 8th grade is middle school. The kids in Blenheim will not be going to Clio. Clio would go K4 through 6th grade, and we would have room left for about 100 kids for early childhood development if we wanted to put it in Clio. We also then, we've got the Bennisville school here that I'm jumping the gun, but what I'll read, there's ways that we can remedy the BIS school, and we can do that. We can still put 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders there without a problem. But that's just a thought. That's something I've worked on because, like I said, I do not support sending my four-year-olds and 5-year-olds from Blenheim, busing them. And that's just my viewpoint of it. So that's an idea.
Madam Chairman, I have a similar proposal. I was going to run it by the superintendent and Mr. Toole, contingent on this mole report, because that would mean we're leaving the children there. So there are many ways we could reconfigure, not this only the way this being presented. And we can handle the children in Clio so they're not there with all those problems. And we can deal with our children here in Bennettsville. Many parents do not want them moving to Blenheim. Now, having said that, we don't need to discuss all that tonight except to say there are options and we're ready to move, but I think we need this mole report. And as I would like to, you know, we're clearly here. Do we need a motion to say that we'll have a meeting Wednesday night to have the mold engineer here, and subsequent to that, if appropriate, we will then take a vote on reconfiguration, the plans that are presented by the board and the administration?
Madam Chair.
Will that be agreeable with you, Mr.
No, I have something else I want
That's
to say.
the appropriate,
Say that again.
motion.
Does it get a second? That's the first
Yeah.
issue.
All right. Is there a second?
So,
I'll second.
Discussion.
I will discuss it. Go ahead.
Mr. Coachman?
Now, when I made a motion, I'm out of order. Mr. Branch comes back and said move school discovery. Then we got a discussion. He came up with the same motion about moving somebody around. Now, the superintendent's her job to do this reconfiguration, and she come up with it 3 straight years.
Yeah.
We need to move these children.
Comes up with his own.
Now all other board members got reconfiguration they can do differently.
Exactly.
It's not our job. We're supposed to make policy and try to support. I think this reconfiguration that we have in place for other board members to come up with reconfiguration, we're going to have a total mess.
No, we
Nothing will be
won't. You
good to
haven't
be done.
listened to it. You haven't had an open mind to it.
I don't need, I've heard it over and over again for 3 years. Anyway.
Ms. Parson, may I?
Ms. Fleming?
The word reconfiguration, it never came up until we had that meeting the Friday before Easter. The board was, everything was fine. The administration came up with an idea how to save us some money to keep our children safe, and now everyone wants to do their own reconfiguration. Folks, Nan don't want to do that. That's way above my pay grade. I don't know what to do, and I don't want to, Dr. Tiller and her staff and the principals of this community, of these schools, they are the ones that know the schools, they know their students, and they know what a middle school should have and what an intermediate school should have and a primary school should have. I do not. I'm looking for guidance, and they are trained to give us this, and they gave us that. Now, since April, since we went out, that's just a new buzzword, and it's not giving the leadership that you all deserve. You all deserve better leadership than this. And I mean, thank you. Now you can put it any way you want to. Everybody wants to be an expert on reconfigurations now.
Well, you know, it may be excuse me, Madam Chairman, I call for the question.
You cannot call, Miss Zoa Nation, I have the floor. Okay?
I'm calling for the question.
I have the floor.
I'm calling for the
You
question.
can call whatever you want to. So.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Would you restate it, Ms.
I don't even know what the motion is.
I made a motion that we have a special called meeting on Wednesday night to receive the report from the mold engineer with an option to thereafter vote on reconfiguration if it is appropriate at that time. Something to that effect.
I second.
All right, all in favor of that, please raise your right hand. All right? All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Beg your pardon?
Was that what you had?
Yeah, we're currently lined up for Wednesday.
Yeah, for a meeting on
So we
Wednesday.
got the report, and then we would vote on it.
That's what you have on here.
Right.
So that's for the meeting.
To schedule,
Do you not want to? That was a suggestion of the
I got no
chairman.
problem having a mold meeting Monday night, but, you know, if we come up Wednesday night and try to look at everybody that's got an idea about how things could reconfigure, we'll be forever.
Absolutely.
I mean, we really will. I mean, I got no problem doing the mold. I mean, it's no secret from the beginning, the only issue I had with the reconfiguration was moving the kids out here to the high school. I mean, if I had a preference, every community would have their own school and they would stay there. The biggest issue I had was moving the kids here.
all right, so the motion failed. So now, do you want to make a motion, or Mr. Coachman make?
Engineer come Wednesday night.
All right,
Because that's what was on here. That's what that was for the mold. That's what
yeah,
it was.
yeah.
But it didn't say reconfiguration, just.
It said,
I was
what's right
trying
on
to
here,
respond
it
to the
says,
superintendent's need for quickness on this.
schedule
but
special
anyway.
call meeting to discuss reconfiguration and the mold report. Are you not looking at the same agenda I
It
am?
may not be, it may be a different, because we had 2 or 3 different agendas. You may be looking.
What have you got?
I don't know, I ain't got no glasses on.
You may have a different, we had a couple of different, we really did.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Woods?
you know, I didn't run for this position to try to do somebody else's job. Now, we all know, I'm with Mr. Branch and everybody, we concerned about the kids in 3rd and 4th and 5th grade.
Right.
Now, the superintendent and the staff and teachers and principals and the citizens of Marlboro County deserve better than this. That
Why don't
we
you
got
make
an
a motion for the
to do
solution?
The solution is, we go with part of the refrigeration, what Dr. Tillers present, and leave the 3rd, and we come and get the mold report, and go ahead with the part of the refrigeration. That's my motion. I make a motion that we go with part of the refrigeration with this, what I did.
Which part? State the part, so it'll be.
Move Clio K through 5, School of Discovery to Blenheim, 6th grade from Bennettsville to Blenheim. That's my motion.
All right, and that was your motion as well?
Same thing I did 30 minutes ago.
All right, and
Madam Chairman, that is not.
all right, good.
If I could just clarify, that's right, I just want to clarify that it would be Clio 6th, 7th, and 8th to Blenheim, School of Discovery to Blenheim, the 6th grade at BIS to Blenheim, and it would be the pre-K through 5th grade from Blenheim to Clio.
Now, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, so if we went to make a vote on that, what would happen if they decided not to move 4th, 5th, and 6th grade from BIS? Because that's what I'm hearing. They want to hold off on it because they may not move the 6th graders.
No, with BIS,
Third, fourth, and fifth.
it would be 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It wouldn't have any impact on this. And I heard what Mr. Driggers stated regarding pre-K through 5th grade at Blenheim, and I understand why he would like for them to stay in Blenheim. But the problem is going to be the numbers, that sounds great on paper, but the problem is once you put Bennettsville intermediate 6th, 7th, and 8th, the School of Discovery in Blenheim, you can't mix the School of Discovery and Blenheim. They still have to operate as 2 separate schools. They can't operate, they won't operate as one school because they keep their own individual identity. And so what was discussed is that one school would use the upstairs and the other school would be located and use the downstairs. That was the problem with trying to lump all those grades together because we can't operate them as one school, even though they can use some of the same spaces. but they will still be two separate schools just using one campus.
So any decision we make concerning BIS has nothing to do with the
Nothing but the
configuration
sixth graders.
of the other children.
Only the sixth graders. And my suggestion would be to move the students at Sherrod Street that will be in sixth grade, that we move them to Blenheim so they won't be isolated, and they will be in a true middle school setting. That was the only.
Call for the questions.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, all opposed? All right, the motion's carried. Now, do we need to have a motion here to clarify, to have this meeting on the mold?
No, I think no.
Can everybody put their
Wednesday night.
big boy britches on and come?
Madam Chairman, I'm sorry, we have done something.
Have we screwed up?
Let me interject.
Okay.
A few minutes ago, when Mr. Coachman made the proposal, I said the fact is that is not on the agenda. What's on the agenda is to discuss this matter. Okay. Now, the superintendent has made it clear that this is a matter of some urgency. So I was trying to suggest a way to get this done on Wednesday.
Right. Okay.
And what I would suggest is
exactly what you're talking
the
about,
superintendent has heard a suggestion from Mr. Driggers. She's heard one from Mrs. Oanesian. I think the superintendent can take that under advisement, but she should come here Wednesday with your proposal on reconfiguration.
I've already given my proposal,
okay.
Mr. Childs, on reconfiguration. Can we go back in and amend the agenda? We've done that several times in the past.
No, we can't amend the agenda at this point. We've already ended the meeting now, and it requires a 2/3 vote and so forth. Well, let me say this: you can make the same recommendation Wednesday that you had previously made. I'm just saying that you might want to consider what these other people have said.
But Mr. Childs, the issue is the more we keep moving it out, the more my people are going to be going home for the summer. But I'm just saying, people are still here this first week.
Well,
but it's already been voted on.
Dr. Tiller,
Whatever you all would like to do is fine.
Yeah,
We don't need to take up any more time.
It's voted on, it passed, and it should be done.
Have we did something illegal here?
No, it's not a question of illegal. It's a question of following the proper procedure.
Exactly.
It's following the proper procedure. And when you say it's been voted on, that it was also voted to rescind it, was it not?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do is to be accommodating to the superintendent. She says this is a matter of urgency. She should come into the meeting Wednesday prepared to make her recommendation again, and she can modify it if she so chooses.
Yes.
But that way we get a quick answer, and you're consistent with what you've decided to do.
Right.
You made a motion that you would hear the mold report and then deal with reconsideration. And the superintendent said this is urgent, so let's do it Wednesday.
Right.
Is that?
Got it.
So what we just did
won't
just
be a long
a few
discussion.
minutes
It's not
ago.
valid. It's illegal.
He didn't say. Did we do anything illegal?
Well, it's not a question of illegal. It's contrary.
It's illegal because he says it, and that's one thing about everything is questionable. So I am sorry, Mr. Child, that's how I'm feeling.
Well,
okay?
what I'm saying.
It's FOIA. If this is the only thing that we've done illegal on this board, I mean, is this that we've done tonight? We want to give the superintendent and her staff some time to get this work done, and we've done that. But
that's why
obviously you want to call a technical file. Go ahead, go right ahead on.
Folks,
Well, the issue
hang
here.
on just a second. We need to bring order here and quit the playing to the crowd and gaming and carry it on. Mr. Childs is telling us that we have violated FOIA.
Did you say that?
Yes, the FOIA requires that once the agenda is established, it can't be amended unless there is a statement of urgency. and there's a 2/3 vote. That's the recent law. I'm trying to, what a lawyer tries to do is to help you do what you want to do.
Right.
The superintendent wants a decision on this, and it's not going to hurt anything to delay the decision for 2 days. So the question is, Mr. Branch, do you want to reconsider your position? Huh? Well,
Why him?
I mean,
Yes, I'm going home.
the superintendent has clearly said to the board, this is a matter of urgency. The board has previously decided to receive the mole report and then make a decision. If you're going to get the mole report Wednesday, you can make a decision then if you want to. If you don't, you can delay it. You have the
We'll put it on
option.
the agenda.
It'll be on the agenda.
Not about mold.
Huh?
This is not about mold.
Well,
What it is about is FOIA and the agenda. And
Why
when,
is it important for him? Do he want to change his vote? Why is it important? Why did he point Mr. Branch out and ask
Answer the
Mr. Branch if he wanted to change his vote?
Well, the motion that Mrs. Owenesian made is consistent with what I'm saying, but it failed. Now, the question is, do you want to assume this matter has some urgency, and do you want to have the mole report?
Mr. Childs, I think what we are saying.
hang on a second, let him answer.
The mole report is only, is just the school on Sherrod Street.
Right.
The other schools are in Clio, Blenheim, and Clio and Blenheim, and they are not, they will, if we could just get some of this done tonight, just some of it, so that for the next 2 days, the staff can start doing some things, letting some people know, but if we said 2 more days, this came before this board in March, before Easter, and here we are, June. Yes, ma'am.
Title 30 is the Freedom of Information Act.
I'm
and
aware of
it has
that.
rules, and we're going to follow them. And
Tonight we will, if it suits you. Okay, I'm telling you, if it suits you.
No.
If it suits you.
But Mrs. Fleming, as you
Yes, sir.
said, 2 days doesn't make a difference, and I'm trying to help the board get where it wants to get. So this way, a decision could be made Wednesday night.
You just made it more complicated.
No.
You did not, no.
No, it's not complicated. The board has previously decided how they were going to deal with this. They were going to hear the mole report, and then they make a decision. And the only issue is whether we make the decision tonight contrary to the agenda, or whether we put out a proper agenda for our meeting on Wednesday and move forward.
All right. So,
Gee whiz.
well,
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'll be happy if you want to. Now, I don't know if it's an effort with this board. I'll make a motion again that we meet on Wednesday night to receive information on the mold report, which I believe is essential to a decision on reconfiguration, and that we then, if appropriate, take a vote on the reconfiguration. Now, Mr. Branch expressed that it might take a long time, and yes, it might, but it's a very important decision. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be adding on to that. My motion is we meet Wednesday night, we get the mold report, we get to discuss it. If it's appropriate and this board wishes to, we then move forward on the reconfiguration issues.
did you second that before?
I'll second it again.
All right, good. All in favor, please raise. All right, do you want to discuss this?
Yes. Yeah. I have a question for Mr. Childs. On our agenda, it has reconfiguration. Now, if we were not going to discuss that, should we not have taken it off the agenda in the beginning?
No.
On my agenda that I'm looking at for June 5th, on the scheduled workshop, Mrs. Heiser and Mr. Gallagher with Nan Fleming, we did that. Underneath that, it says reconfiguration. Now, if we were not going to discuss reconfiguration, should we not have taken that off?
You could have, but this is the issue. There's a difference between discussing something and acting on it. And I notice the practice in Marlboro is often to put vote required when a vote's required. So it's nothing wrong with you discussing it.
Okay.
The issue I was addressing was whether it was proper to act on it tonight, given the format of the agenda. And Mr. Branch, if you want to have discussion on Mrs. Owenesian's motion, that's perfectly appropriate.
Go ahead, Mr. Branch.
So basically, because it didn't have a vote, decided we were not supposed to vote tonight. Is that the way I
Right.
understand it?
Right.
To some extent, yes, that's the format here, and if I understood correctly, the board had previously decided they would have the mole report and then deal with reconsideration. And there's no indication that you were going to change that.
No.
And this way you can stay consistent with that and still accommodate the superintendent's desire to move forward on this. Does that make, yeah?
I understand.
Okay.
If we voted illegally, then I guess we voted illegally. I guess you maybe not want to use the word illegally, but out of place.
It would be, you know, I guess if there's no foul called, there's no foul. The fact is that the Freedom of Information Act, as amended, makes the agenda more restrictive. And you know, it requires you normally that you do it at the beginning of the meeting and that there's a 2/3 vote and a finding of exigency. Having trouble getting the word out, that there are emergency circumstances. And so this is a way to be consistent with the Freedom of Information Act and also do what the district needs to do. And, you know, so I think your point a minute ago is well taken. This is a complicated subject, and the board may not want to deal with it Wednesday, but at least you have that option.
You know,
I'm just saying have the option.
when we originally voted on this reconfiguration, I think the majority of the board was for it, and I was against it, mainly because of moving the kids to the high school. And so at the next board meeting, I made a motion that we rescind it.
Right, we had no vote needed.
And
Right, and the board voted to rescind, is that
I made a
right?
motion and we
2/3
rescinded
vote.
it, which is where we are now. And whether it's tonight, which doesn't seem like it can be a legal vote, or Wednesday night, I'm probably still gonna feel the same way, that I don't want the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders here at the high school.
And that's
Based on what
okay.
the report says,
Well,
based on what I read.
all right, and the board, right now, it's wide open what you can do on reconfiguration on Wednesday. The board can do whatever it chooses on Wednesday. Does that make sense? Okay.
I got a question for you,
Mr.
Mr.
Wood?
Child.
Mr. Wood?
Yes,
So,
sir.
so on the night that Mr. Branch asked to rescind the vote, vote was needed, was not on the agenda that night. And so you saying because of reconfiguration under my name, that we couldn't take no action tonight, that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that night, we amended the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, which is
Okay.
proper, and it got a 2/3 vote.
Okay, so.
And there was a finding of exigency.
Okay, my second
Okay.
question is, because reconfiguration is under my name tonight, Artemus Woods, and if I wanted to make a motion, you said that could not be happening tonight, we could not vote tonight, right?
It's not proper to act when you tell the public that all you're doing is discussing something.
Okay. The third thing is.
It has nothing to do with your name.
Third thing, I ain't worried about my name. The third thing is this. I heard you say earlier while you were clarifying everything to the board chair and to us, that if there was a state of emergency tonight, that we could make a change. Is that what you just said?
Well, it would require a 2/3 vote and a finding, and of course, what the paper's going to report is that the board decided that they couldn't wait 2 days on this. So you're violating, you really don't have a finding of exigency here. But the superintendent has made it clear that this is a matter of urgency. And so dealing with it Wednesday complies with that. But, you know, and the way, as I understand it, the motion, the board can do whatever it wants to on Wednesday. We'll have a broad agenda. I'll work with the superintendent to properly prepare the agenda.
Ms. Bright?
So we need to meet Wednesday night to discuss the findings that the lawyer sent over to us.
Yes, ma'am.
According, about the mold. So that's what we need to meet Wednesday night.
And we're discussing adding this
There's more than that. I think there's more than that, Ms. Bright.
Well, there is more than that, Ms. Bright. The two issues. One is you need to receive the mole report. The second thing is you need to make a decision about reconfiguration. And apparently, you know, there's not a uniformity of opinion tonight what to do about reconfiguration.
Yeah, I understand that,
Okay.
but if it's for reconfiguration, I'm probably going to not coming. If it's to discuss the mold, then I'll be here, because I've already been through that reconfiguration.
And it'll be both things, if the board
Both
chooses.
of them happen to be on there, then I'll be there, but I'm gonna
Okay.
come Wednesday night to discuss the
They'll
mold.
both be on there, and the board can do whatever it pleases.
All right, so is there any more discussion about this?
If not, I call for the question.
All right, all in favor?
Repeat it. Please repeat it.
All right.
Restate.
We're going to have this is a motion to have a special call meeting on Wednesday, June 7th at 6 o'clock at the Media Center here to discuss the mold report from Mr. Sharp, and he will be here. We already know he can be here. And to discuss and possibly vote on.
If appropriate.
If appropriate.
Why do we have to add if possible and if it's appropriate? It's a need and something that we got to do. Why you got to add those words in there? Why can't we just say we're voting on reconfiguration?
Mr. Childs, may I come and share something on my iPad with you, please?
I'll walk over there.
Thank you. All right, the question is restated. And all in favor?
Still seconding.
And seconded.
And I'd like to make a comment before you go any further. And I think it's important to have the reconfiguration on there, because if he comes in and says these kids don't need to be at that school, then I've got to make a decision on where we're going to put them.
So you don't want to do it that night, is that what you're saying?
No, I got no problem. I'm saying
It's on there.
There'll be a vote needed on reconfiguration.
Because if he says we don't need kids in that intermediate school, third, fourth, or fifth graders, then we got to move them somewhere, not over here.
Okay.
So we need to be able to vote on it.
We will, I hope.
Yeah. All right, all in favor of the motion for the meeting on June 7th, please raise your right hand. I'll be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
It's
7.
unanimous.
I think it's
And-
unanimous.
He voted too. It's unanimous.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right, so the motion is carried unanimously. All right.
All's good, all's well that ends.
And that's right. And yes. Dr.
I'd
Tiller.
just like to share that for the board, if the board decides that you don't want to do any reconfiguration at all, it's fine with Dr. Tiller. I have done my due diligence as superintendent, and I have given you my best recommendation, my expert professional recommendation regarding this. So if you don't want to do anything, that's fine too. I just need to know where we're headed so I'll know how to instruct my staff.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that.
And next, Dr. Tiller, would,
6 o'clock here.
6 o'clock here. Information items, Dr. Tiller is going to speak about the Lupus Warrior Foundation presentation and the Lupus Foundation of America. Dr. Tiller.
Thank you. I am very happy to share this evening that we have taken the initiative to support the Lupus Foundation in our school district, and tonight we're happy to present the Lupus Foundation of America a check for $950.
And I just want to say, my name is Helena Johnson, and I am the former chief volunteer officer and now the statewide volunteer contact for the Lupus Foundation of America. And this teacher right here was the one that came up with the idea, Mr. Kel Thomas, and she was recently trained to be a lupus support facilitator here, to support those who are diagnosed with lupus in this area. And she came up with an idea about what we can do in Bennettsville, in Marlborough County, to really show that we care in terms of the state. And I'm so proud of you on that, and we thank you for that. We thank everyone who's here in the district that supported her. I just want to give you guys a thank you right here from Monroe County. But for those of you who aren't familiar, lupus is a very, very complicated, complex disease. It can affect anyone. It doesn't discriminate, and we all should learn a little bit more about it. So we thank y'all so very much.
we can ask them up here too.
And next, Mr. Jorgensen, we have the Marlboro County Adult Education graduation.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller. In your packet, you have the program for the 2017 Marlboro County Adult Education graduation ceremony held on May the 25th. You also have a portrait of 13 of those 17 graduates that graduated that day. I wanted to thank this board and Dr. Tiller and her staff for their support of adult education. We've changed the lives of 17 Marlboro County residents for the better as high school completers. They can now go on to their dreams of attaining a post-secondary education, joining the military, or life-sustaining wages in new employment. We are currently in summer school, and we are expecting 10 to 12 additional completers at the end of our summer session. So that'll be 10 or 12 more citizens that are moving forward. And so we want to say thank you for your support. A gracious thank you to Dr. Tiller, Ms. Fleming, and Mr. Driggers for participating in the ceremony. We hope to see everyone at our summer commencement in August. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, Mr. Park, would you please give us the financial report as of May 24th, 2017?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, you have before you the financial report as of May 24th, 2017. I'll be glad to entertain any questions you might have about that at this time.
Are there any questions? All right, construction cost of bathrooms for Blenheim, Clio, and Wallace.
Okay. Attached, please find an email sent to Tim Brown on May 16th, 2017, along with product information on modular restroom facilities from Green Flush Technologies that could be utilized for Blenheim, Wallace, and Clio ball fields. The units as included for discussion, which are the Durango, Breckenridge, and Snowmass models, range in price between $59,750 and $79,950 plus tax. Depending on options for siding and interior materials such as tile, you could add another $10,000 or so. The units have to be delivered and a crane utilized to install the prepared site with appropriate utility connections. The facilities can function whether septic installation is feasible or not. If septic is an issue, then the unit is designed to be installed without septic connections and pumped out when needed. Based on all cost of a reasonable estimate of $125,000 per facility, including installation and required setups, depending on model and options selected, the contingency could provide for concessions. And you can see in the email the cost, basically $75,000 for the actual physical restroom. You look at delivery with the crane, another $5,000, water, electric, and site drawings, $5,000, contractor, $10,000, and we've got a $30,000 contingency that makes up that cost. And if you turn in the pack, you can kind of see what the models actually look like. There is a side shot of a restroom, and that just gives you sort of an idea what we're talking about here, but this would be for men's and women's, but I just wanted to bring that information to you. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Coachman.
It don't address what we asked for. Now, I mean, yeah, we asked for a restroom, but concession stand was the biggest need. And
the concession, I don't know whether you're talking about a mobile, either options with concessions using mobile units, actually using a rolling unit, or what can be done with the contingency is to actually utilize the same types of facilities and then have the center area as a concession area. So depending on, I'm thinking $125,000, and I talked with Mr. Brown. I don't know whether he's here tonight.
Brown back there.
Yeah. Would you like to comment?
Do you actually think that the concession stand is more important than the bathrooms?
They both are important, but I mean, the concession stand is what we talked about.
I thought we talked about bathrooms too. We did.
Okay, we talked about bathroom too, but we got somewhere we can go use the bathroom, but.
But you only, you're telling me that,
No
you're telling us that one commode is $125,000.
Well, for men's, there would be two commodes in a urinal.
$25,000.
Pardon me?
With no concession stand.
Two what now?
Two sets.
Mr. Driggers, was this what you had, Mr. Driggers? Mr. Driggers, was this what you had in mind in terms of the?
No, that was, I'm kind of waiting, but, to get my word in, but I would like very much for you, or if we can, Mr. Brown, to get some of our local carpenters to give me an idea about this same thing, because that seems a little bit high. The first shot I saw here looks like, what's the buildings in McCall? Yeah, whatever the name.
Well, we know where we went before with this, with the high school. We thought that was going to be very inexpensive. The number came back at $700,000, so I think we're a long ways away from that.
The one question that I'd like to have is, what does the Office of School Facilities require us to have, I guess? Maybe what do they require us to put in a middle school field? And then I would like to compare it with, like I said, some of my local contractors here that might could give me a bid on this same functional building.
One of the things we're talking about here, I don't know whether or not you're wanting to go out for a proposal for a design build, but when that happens, then you're going to have the contractor that is proposing on this, he's going to have to go through the cost of developing plans. So part of what I was trying to do is at least provide information without having to have somebody actually incur cost.
And I thank you very much.
It just is time to do this.
But I guess, like I said, my thought process, and I'm old school, you can tell by the white on my head and on my chin, but when I came up, a bunch of farmers came out and we built a concession stand. They built a concession stand in the bathroom. They probably did it in Clio and Wallace too. I'm just saying, what is required of us, I guess, as far as standards, because we could probably get some people that would help us and do it at a reasonable price.
Well,
and I'm not trying to be difficult, but
let me have our construction expert address that question.
Well, that'd be fine, but I need to know, what does the school, Office of School Facilities require us to have, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
Madam Chairman, at times the parent-teacher organizations have actually built concession stands. Bands have done it, in terms of the building. So there has to be some exception in OSF to allow for that. Because like Mr. Coachman said, what do you want to do? You want to sell some potato chips and some hot dogs.
Like a barn, one of those little utility barns, but you need good bathrooms.
Good luck, Mr. Brand.
Go ahead. Put you on the spot now.
To start with, the Office of School Facilities is going to have to be involved in any building and construction on any site that you have. A lot of what has been done in Marlboro County over the years was not through the Office of School Facilities. Just point that out. Not looking at you, Matt.
And let him finish. Let him
Yes,
finish.
that's got a question. What about the aluminum buildings? These are aluminum buildings?
Metal buildings.
Metal buildings?
Yes, sir. What you have to keep in mind is that you're going to be required to have, as we had at the high school here, a number of stalls for men and for women. And that's based on the number of seating that you have. That's why we moved some of the bleachers to the side out here, so we didn't have to have 10, and we got by with 5. But as long as we, in Wallace, and in Blenheim, as long as we keep the seating at 4 levels high, then we can not have to worry about that requirement of every seat. So many seats has to have a restroom, in other words, or a stall. So we can configure it to where we don't have as many rest or stalls that we did at the high school. And what Mr. Parks was proposing, and there may be some others out there that manufacture these that may come in a little less, but he did at least get you some number. What he and I had talked about was installing you have to have a men's room and a women's room. And then in between those, if you do it right, you could just put a roof. You've already have 2 walls, and you can have your concession stand in between those. Was what I would look at trying to do to save on your cost. Yes,
Dr. Tiller. Thank you. If I could just make one comment, and I say this to my staff all the time. When we have limited resources, we've got to make the best possible decisions the first time. We've got a state-of-the-art school in Wallace, a state-of-the-art school in Blenheim, and we're talking about putting some aluminum buildings for people to go to restrooms in. What is that saying about us?
Oh, I'm not.
I'm not saying it to you, Mr. Brown. I'm just saying
somebody else.
that in the long run, it may be cheaper for us and better for us over time if we spent the money, even if the gentleman over in Laurinburg who helped us with the one here at the high school, build one at each school that is, we don't have to have a
press box.
A press box up top, but the point I'm making is, here at the high school, we've had to go back years later and build this, and it cost us a lot more money than it probably would have when we put the ball fields out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the other thing is, with Blenheim and with Wallace, we took time to make those nice facilities for our students. And I just think that we need to stop and really think about what we're going to do and what's going to last over time for our community, because we don't have enough money to keep going back and redoing. And so that's just my thoughts and my recommendation to the board. In McCall, we have a nice restroom. We have a nice concession stands. We have even the press box. So I'm just saying we need to think about, do we want to create disparities and inequities within our own county? Because that's what it boils down to. And I think in most counties, when you start constructing anything, if it's middle school, they do the same thing across the board for middle schools. The same thing across the board for elementary. Same thing for high school. I think that we're at that point that we've invested this money in these 2 facilities. I think we need to really give it some serious thought and not just try to do something where we can hurry up and say that we put something out there, and a few years later, you know, and like you said, you don't have to have the septic and the this, that, and the other, but sooner or later, you're going to have to call the Honeywell truck. And I'm just being honest.
In both Wallace and Wallace especially will be not any problem to tie into the sewer system that we have.
Right.
Okay, it's right there. It's within 30 yards of where we're going to put the facility. And in Blenheim, we might have to do a little bit different. I don't know where we'd place it at this point, but that can be worked out. But I would not recommend you did a pumping system.
No,
I would not.
But I'm just saying that I just think that we need to build something that match the schools that would be permanent for us.
Okay. And I'll do whatever you ask me to. Y'all
I
know
know
that.
that. I'm just making a suggestion.
I know I wasn't here when this was brought up, and I'm getting in kind of at the end of it, but construction-wise.
I think maybe some board members would visit some other schools and see what they're, other than McCall. I can look at McCall, but go to Sherrall, and I plan to do that. Somebody just out riding. Go and look at, see what they have.
Most of them are just block. block
And if it's,
with a roof, a block.
and we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll have an idea, because.
Open.
So you mean to tell me that you just can't go down to Lowe's and get a commode and?
No,
You can't do that, huh?
no, ma'am.
Okay, I got you.
Afraid
That's
not.
school stuff, I understand.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
trying to, I'm not being funny, but it's just,
All right, Mr. Parks?
so we gotta do it right.
Moving right
I know
along.
you-
Thank you.
Award
Thank
of
you for bringing it to
construction of the
us.
ball fields
Certainly.
at Blenheim and approval of the restroom concession facility at Blenheim and Wallace. We have a vote needed.
Okay. Since the last meeting, I've researched modular restroom facilities for Blenheim, Wallace, and Clio schools. Based on information presented, a budget of $125,000 per facility would be required to provide for the need for each school. Based on discussions with Tim Brown, the revised scope of work as a result of the revision to the plans provides the lowest cost for the project. Drigger's Construction revised the previous submitted proposal and reduced the contract amount from $468,000 to $340,000 based on the redesign, with a 17% contingency to accommodate some other costs. In the amount of $58,000, a total project cost of $398,000 will be required to complete the project. The district has $304,000 available, and a balance of $94,000, if authorized by the board, will come from the project fund as part of the annual general obligation bond financing in August. Tim Brown will be available to answer questions regarding the project and administration. Authorize Tim Brown, the recommendation here is to authorize Tim Brown on behalf of the district to submit an AIA contract to Drigger's Construction for the superintendent designee to sign for a project cost not to exceed $398,000, which will include a $58,000 contingency. Approve a budget of $125,000 each for restroom concession facility for Blenheim and Wallace ball field projects.
Okay, so this recommendation that you're doing here, it does not include the Wallace. The 125 is authorized at the Wallace, right?
The $125,000 budget for the restroom and concession facility at Wallace would be included in this motion.
Okay. I'll take another shot at it. I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation made by Mr. Parks.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Are you abstaining?
I'm voting no.
Okay, all right. Oh, wow, okay. All right, so, all in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion, 6, the motion's carried. All opposed? All right. Who's abstaining? Okay. Did you get that, Ms. Morris? All right. So the motion's carried. All right. Next, approval of revision to school wellness policy, ADF, for second reading.
Okay. Changes have taken place as a result of South Carolina Department of Education's guidelines, which require a district policy manual to be updated to reflect those changes. Attached, please find the revision to the school wellness policy, ADF 4, and that should be second reading. The changes are intended to strengthen our policy to meet suggested items based on model wellness policy. MUSC Boeing Center for Children's Wellness collaborated with South Carolina Department of Ed to make sure the minimum requirements were addressed in our revised school wellness policy, and necessary criteria was covered. Recommendation here is to approve policy ADF as amended for second reading. Yvonne Williams is here to speak to any questions that you may have regarding this particular policy.
Does anyone have any questions?
Ms. Parson, at the first meeting, I did have some questions, but in my agenda, I do not have a printed. But Ms. Williams, would you just tell us what we were doing last year and what will we be doing differently this year?
What we were doing last year is a lot of general things as far as wellness was concerned in the district, and what the USDA wanted to do would be very specific. And so that's why they gave us recommendations to put in our wellness policy so it could be specific to address statewide what they wanted in the wellness policy for school districts.
So, no, I'm thinking, you're saying wellness, but I'm thinking in terms of the food that you're serving. Is that what we're talking?
No, we're talking about the school wellness policy, and that includes the food, because we're talking about the sodium, the calories, and those types of things.
So last year you were doing just kind of on your own. This year you got to be more specific.
Well, we did what they wanted us to do. They just got more stringent on what they wanted from us.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that going to be cost? How, in terms of cost, how is that going to affect?
It's not going to cost.
It's not going to be any more money?
No, ma'am.
It won't affect your budget in any way?
No, it won't affect our budget. What it will do is just make us, tighten our restrictions as far as making sure the guidelines are being followed. But it won't cost any more money.
Just kind of generally, what are some of those guidelines? Because
making sure that we have our children have a certain amount of time for physical activity, making sure that physical activity is not withheld as a punishment to children, and those types of things.
Does that fall under your job as food service?
The state does put it under there, yes, ma'am. When we come out and get audited, food service is audited for our district school wellness policy.
Okay.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I was not aware of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Ms.
Would
Parson?
someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the revision to school wellness policy ADF for the second reading.
Second. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
I need to go back.
Okay. Do what?
Go ahead.
All right.
No, I'm sorry to bother you, but I want to go back to the item before. I don't need.
We're done?
I'm through with you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go back with Wes for just a minute. I don't know if I need to make a motion, but I would like to form a committee to kind of go along with those ball fields being built and the bathrooms being placed in there. Maybe a 3-man committee or a 3-person committee that we can go back and just kind of oversee it like we did Wallace, the school. You remember? Does that need a motion, or what that need?
Well, what I'd really like to do is get this motion that's on the floor being voted on finished, and then let's go back.
I thought we already finished. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. Y'all are stripping my gears tonight to keep up with this. Okay, we have a motion to approve the wellness thing for the second reading. And would y'all vote again, please? Let me get your hands. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and what are you doing?
Abstaining.
She's abstaining. All right, so that motion's carried. Now, what is it you want to do?
I would like to do whatever it takes to back up to the Bledum Elementary Middle School ball fields.
You want me to appoint a committee?
I would like to have a committee appointed to go to, kind of keep up what's going on, to view it, to like the modular bathrooms we picked out for that in Wallace. At the same time, I'm assuming, because we approved both of them, I'd like to nominate myself and maybe Mr. Coachman and somebody else that would love to be with us on that committee.
Mr. Charles, there's no reason why I can't appoint a committee right now, is there?
You
Right,
agree with that?
okay, all right. So we'll have a committee?
Kenneth Yates.
All right.
We'll ask Mr. Kenneth Yates
So
to be on it also.
the committee will have Mr. Driggers,
I want to be on the committee.
Mr. Woods.
I think that probably the appropriate thing to do would be to have the athletic director, who is Coach Boyd.
Right.
All right. Coach Boyd, Mr. Driggers, Mr. Woods, Mr. Coachman. All right, so 1, 2, 3.
That's good.
We have to, committees are 3, and then Coach Boyd as
will
well.
be kind of-
All right, so we're done with that. You feel better now?
I feel better.
Oh, good, okay. All right.
Ms. Parson?
Yes.
I want to speak to the acting officials.
All right, Ms. Bright has a question for Ms. Williams. Is she already
She
booked
just
out of
shut me
here?
down.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Williams.
I was looking at the school wellness, and one of the things I see on the back of it is some of the changes they made for the snacks and stuff. Now, are y'all gonna send us a list home? Because I'm a parent and I love to bring snacks.
You'd love to what? I
They're
couldn't hear
saying
you.
that, you know, certain snacks you can't bring. So I want to know, are y'all gonna send us a list as a parent home? Because, you know,
Well, the snacks are, that the children bring to school themselves from home. We can't control that. This is snacks that are being sold in school and those types of things.
but I don't just bring it for my child, I bring them.
Now that you will not be able to do unless they pass the smart snacks. And there should be a website on there telling you how much sodium it can have, how much fat it can have, and those types of things.
So would y'all have like a desired snack list? If y'all have like a desired snack, these are appropriate snacks.
We can do that.
We can do that, yes, ma'am.
Then I can. I know I'm
That'd be a good thing for all the parents.
So, you know,
Yes, ma'am.
if y'all would send that home.
I mean, not just you, because,
Ma'am?
I mean, it'd be good for all the parents.
Good suggestion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah.
just said. If they
Well
pass it
done.
home with the thing, you know.
Okay.
Because I'm
All right.
all these parents.
We can put that
Can
out
you get
there.
a snack list?
Yes, I will, and I can also, if Dr. Tiller thinks it's a good idea, I can give it to Connie Anderson, and she can link that to our website, on our school website. Okay.
All right. Ms. Fleming?
Mr. Harley, the Clio community, none of your issues, you addressed them, the safety, the security, instructions, and some of the heavy-duty fitnesses. I made a list of what I'm hoping that we've just spent. I wrote that figure down, what we're spending for these other facilities, and you came 2014. I want this board is here for every child, all the children, and, you know, we just blew this off. And we just blew it off. And I think you didn't hear Mr. Harley and you didn't feel Mr. Harley's, his concerns was not enough to even for us to discuss the possibility of doing something. Even the part, and I told Mr. Childs today when we came on this board, I worked diligently to get Blenheim done, and that was not my district. I worked diligently and went to very, very many meetings for the Wallace School. That was not my district, but they were still children in this area. Now, this BIS is in my district, and those are my children. Those are my personal children, because they are my neighbors. I'm feeling really not good that we have such great facilities that we are not even willing to take the children at BIS out of to put in a facility that is good, because as a board member, I worked hard along with all of the rest of this board to make these facilities good. So let us be a little bit of equity here. Let us be a little fair about what we are doing, because we are not doing it. And Mr. Harley says 2014, September 14, 2014. Listen to it and forgot it. Come back 2 years from now, Mr. Harley, maybe. That's not how we need to be doing business.
Ms. Fleming?
Yes, ma'am.
When you say that we blew it off, you shouldn't be speaking for me. I wrote down every one of the things he said. So as for blowing it off, I think not. Now let's move on with the agenda, because that's not on
I'll take
here.
that back. I'm sorry, Ms. Parson, if I used that word. But I want him to know that you heard him. I hope the other board heard him as well, and we will address those issues at some point.
Well, the reason I wrote it down is so that we can get that on
Thank you very much.
agenda.
Okay, then Mr. Harley, do you hear that?
It's not normal that we respond and spend money immediately when someone lists their concerns. It has to go through a process, and it's in
They
the
were
queue.
listed in 2014.
All right, the first reading of budget fiscal year 2017-18.
The budget for fiscal year 2017-18 is balanced at $32,406,122 without an operating tax increase. Our general fund budget is reliant on the reconfiguration of Clio, School of Discovery, and Blenheim. As discussed previously, Clio becomes a pre-K 5 school, Blenheim becomes a middle school housing School of Discovery and the 6th grade from Bennettsville Intermediate. As authorized previously, the required budget notice was advertised in the Marlboro Herald Advocate on Thursday, May 12th, 2017, to announce the public hearing and first reading of the budget on June 5th. The revenues and expenditures are presented in summary form. The salary and supplemental schedules will be included in an attached budget document for second reading. Recommendation here is the first reading of the general fund budget for fiscal year 2017-18 in the amount of $32,406,122.
Before I ask for a motion, I'd like to know from you all if you're comfortable voting on a budget that had a 30-minute presentation. A lot of y'all missed it. And do you want to delay or do you want to proceed with the first reading of the budget?
First reading, it won't be. First reading should be fine. I don't have a problem with doing the first reading.
All right, Mr. Branch? Oh, Mr. Norton?
I don't want to do a first reading because that just leaves one reading.
That's right.
And I think there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, and I think there's a lot of areas that need to be addressed and explained. I'm not comfortable at all without having a detailed workshop with question and answer opportunities.
Okay. All right. And with that being said, could we schedule?
Ms. Parsons, I have to say one thing. Now, we've been giving detailed information to the board ever since January, and I don't know why we're going to delay. Every time we delay, we're delaying what I can tell teachers, whether I'm going to be all these different people that are waiting. Every time we do that, we're just getting further behind. I mean, it's fine if you want to just don't vote on it, but we're getting further and further behind. And the other thing, if we don't do the reconfiguration, then we're going to have to figure out where we're going to come up with the $1.2 or $3 million that we're short. Because we've done everything we know what to do. We have not had a millage increase for operating budget in the 6.5 years I've been here. And we have done everything we know to do to bring a balanced budget. And I just want the board to know, I don't know what else you want this administration to do. There's nothing else for us to do.
Let us discuss when we're
that's
gonna vote on
fine.
it.
That's fine, Ms. Parsons. But I'm just trying to share. The more we delay the inevitable, we're just wasting time.
Well, I need to know how many of you would like to have a meeting next week in a workshop format to really go over the budget.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Coachman.
Yes, ma'am. We did nothing tonight but delay and put off everything. And to delay the budget, it even delay the first reading so that they can go forward. This just doesn't make much sense. We just shooting ourselves in the foot and running teachers off. Mr. Norton, you was the principal in this district for 30, 40 years. You should know better than any of us board members not to try to hold the budget back. But I mean, the budget is balanced. No millage increase. And we're going to question that?
I can balance any budget. All you got to do is take from one and give to another. I want to see who gets what. We have not done one thing for the teachers. You talking about losing teachers, we're getting ready to lose teachers. I listen to them every day. There's three things that this group is concerned about. You voted one of them down tonight. I'm telling you about the people that I talk to, that talk to me, actually talk to me. There's three things. One of them you voted down tonight. I'm not going to vote on a budget that doesn't address the needs of retirees, bus drivers, etc. It's just that simple.
But Mr. Norton, that's a decision of the board. That's not the administration's decision. That's not our decision. This board can elect to pay retirees anything you want to pay them. We don't make those decisions. That's the point I'm making. We don't make those decisions.
I understand that, but we got to know how much we're paying them so we can balance the budget.
Let's go on around the room. Mr. Branch?
You know, I think it was a couple months ago at least that I asked that the budget include, or at least an alternate budget to include an increase for the retirees, and I still haven't seen that. With that being said, this is just the first reading, and I got no problem voting on the first reading, but I would like to have a workshop so we can get some of these extra things and see if it's something that we can possibly afford, like a step increase for the retirees.
We do have information on what it costs if you're interested in seeing that at this time.
So you have that for the bus drivers also?
Not for the bus drivers. I mean, one of the discussions we had about the bus drivers was that in the event that the state provided an increase, of course, then we would do the same within the district to address that increase with those drivers.
I'd like to know what that difference would be.
Certainly. Mr. Toole?
Ms. Bright?
Can we,
I thought you wanted to ask
I
something.
mean, I don't know if this is the appropriate time. I mean,
well, we can display it. Spreadsheet. Yes, sir. That gives you an idea too. In terms of what we've done here is we've done an analysis based on what we're presently paying. And just to give you an idea, if you want to look at certified teachers, presently we're paying, well, we've got all certified retirees, and those that are within the classroom are paid with 7 years. If we apply that standard to all working certified employees, the cost for 7 years of service, providing that, would be, I think that's around 11, is that 11,000?
Yes.
Yes. And in the event that we were to move that from, just say, 7 years to 14 years, you can see the cost increase to teachers would be, it's about $66,481. To increase other certified would be is that 29,709? I didn't bring my okay. Then if you look at, of course, increasing the teachers to their full years of experience, basically paying them on their degrees, that number becomes 183,136, and with the other retirees, 183,136, and the other retirees, 64,625. So that gives you a sense of what the cost would be looking at the certified staff. And then, of course, if we move the spreadsheet up, you can see the classified. Did something happen with the totals?
Did you say classified was getting paid 7 years now?
They're getting paid zero.
Zero.
And in the event that the classified employees were to be paid on 7 years of experience, then that cost would be $17,595. On 14 years would be $14,929, and if they were to go, I mean $47,929, and then if they were at top pay, that would be $97,744. But that gives you a sense, and then overall, I think I've got a total at the very bottom, Mr. Toole. You can see the cost to pay working retirees on their degrees and years of experience is about $345,000 annually.
Mr. Norton.
I'm sort of glad you brought up the fact that I was a principal. And I've watched my teachers leave and go to North Carolina and turn right around and have to hire North Carolina people at top pay. Now, I'm not against hiring North Carolina people. Don't get me wrong. But I'm against losing the ones that are going across the line because of the pay that they're receiving. All we're doing is playing ping pong. And it makes no sense to me to do that. I don't think you're going to save that much money because you're going to have to replace them. And it's just that's me.
And Mr. Norton, that's one of the reasons we were working toward reconfiguration so we could have enough funding to do the types of things, to have some additional funding, because one, again, we haven't had a millage increase. You have to look for some ways to do it.
The other issue that we're finding too is, when we look at funding, we're in a county that's losing population, so that's a challenge, and that impacts our funding from the state sources as well, and we've seen the effect of that. I was really anticipating that our revenues would be stronger this year, but because of the fact that we do have a reduction in population, it's not where I really was anticipating it would be. So,
would you refresh my memory for raises for bus drivers? What's that amount?
There are no salary increases for any personnel in this budget.
Maybe I missed something, but the reconfiguration was to get money to do things like raise teachers, but the retirees, but they didn't get a raise.
Well, it's a result of increased cost, and one of the things we have seen is increased cost.
Again, when we talk about raising salaries for retirees, that's still only going to help those retirees who retired before
that time,
the year 2013. The others, even if we raise the salary, once they get to $10,000, the state is going to cap them. Their retirement will stop. So it's...
I agree with that, Dr. Tillers, but most of the ones that are retiring this year fell under the Terry that will allow them to make whatever it is. Now, after this year, this won't be a problem because the state solved it for us unless they change, because they can't make but so much, and then they, once they make $10,000 gross, then that's all they can make. Retirement's going to stop on them. So that's the end of it. So I think this solves our own problem, but this year, we can help them. Now, the state's going to have to step up and do something to help them. And with the shortage across the state, I hope they will. But that's just how I see it.
Well, again, I agree with you, and this is an issue that I've taken to the state superintendent for our district on a number of occasions, one just recently at our PD superintendent's roundtable, so she's very well aware as well.
I've talked to, when we went to the day at the Capitol, I used that opportunity to say as much as you.
Does anyone else have any opinion about whether we vote tonight or do a workshop first and then vote?
I think we need to vote.
I think we need to vote on the first reading. I mean, Mr. Fox spent a great deal of time trying to get it ready, and
I got a question.
Yes, Mr. Branch.
If we vote tonight, and then when would we decide we wanted to increase for teachers? Did we make that decision tonight?
I think you need to ask Mr. Childs if it's okay for us to vote on that tonight. I can't answer that.
One other thing, Mr. Parks said that this budget was contingent on reconfiguration, and we still got a workshop and a decision to make. So the whole thing is contingent, so to speak.
Could we do a workshop followed by a special call meeting in the same evening on the 12th?
How long does it take to go from one reading to the next? How many days?
7 days, isn't it?
7 days? Is it 7 days between?
We have 3, and most of the time we only can do it in 2 readings.
Is it 7 days, Mr. Childs?
I can't say for certain.
Okay.
And in the public hearing, Mr. Parks just went through everything tonight that's in that budget.
Well, I think the point about the reconfiguration, you've made this budget contingent on that. I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem necessarily with the first reading, because we can make changes at a workshop for a second reading. We can do that.
Yeah.
But I don't have an objection to having a workshop and then voting either. You know, it's just, I don't know how much good, if we don't have our numbers. I was under the impression that we had asked for the 7 years for our retirees to be in the budget. Now,
Well,
I can understand.
the 7 years is.
Well, I mean, it's in there, but now you indicated tonight that it was 0. I'm sorry if I
No,
misunderstood that.
no.
For the teachers,
For
it's
teachers,
always
it's always been
I know,
7.
I know, but I thought you had a 0 up there. So we've got the 7 years.
You have the 7 years for teachers, yes.
So you put that the cost for the 7 years was, you said,
Well, what we said was,
47,000. So where are we on that?
okay, if you look at the cost for the other certified staff, those that aren't in the classroom for 7 years, that's $11,146. Now, if we go down to the...
And that's in the budget or not?
No, that's not in the
it's not in
budget.
the budget.
So, then if we go down to the bottom of that sheet, for classified for 7 years, that's $17,595. We're paying classified on 0 if they're retired. So the total, yeah.
So we're paying retirees on the 0, or we're paying them on the 7?
We're paying retirees that are certified and working in the classroom on 7 years.
Okay.
All other retirees are paid 0.
Teacher aides.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to see us find some ways to save money on irrelevant things and give it to the retirees. The 17,000 over there comes to mind because I think we're paying $19,800 on 3 billboards to advertise public schools. If we knock those out, we could raise the, what is it now?
It's only $6,000 and that's paid for with the new recruitment we provide.
It's not
All
paid
right,
for.
okay, all right.
Now, we talking about excess spending. We just spent $38,000 on legal fees and we ain't got a report from it yet. And so we talking about using money wisely. We owe it to the citizens to be good stewards of money. So we gonna start talking about what we money let's bring it to the table, because we spend unnecessary money on legal fees as it is.
Well,
Thank you. I think in previous years, we usually do the budget, the first reading, then we have the second reading. Most of the time, we don't have to do a third reading. And tonight, all of a sudden, after so many years, it's a problem. We can't even get a first reading. And we're going to have to come back again for the second, but if we don't do it tonight, then that means an additional time that we'll have to, if we don't do the first reading, then we got to do the first reading the next time and then a second reading. And the summer is here and people are busy, and I don't know. We've always, the first reading is just kind of the public hearing, and we do it, and then sometimes we didn't even have the numbers. Mr. Park said in previous years we didn't even know what we were going to have. And we still did it because we based it on what they hadn't made the decision in the General Assembly. And so now we are at this point now where, well, we got the numbers, but we still can't move forward, and that's...
Ms. Bright?
So, this reading also, we need information on whether or not we're gonna do the reconfiguration, right? So now, since we already have to do another reading, okay, can we go forth with this reading and amend it on the second reading? If, you understand what I'm saying? Can we amend it
Yep.
on the second reading?
It never works quite like that, but in theory, it can be done. So if someone wants to make a motion, make a motion.
I think we never, Mr. Childs was going to answer the question as to whether we could add a teacher increase to this first reading. Did you answer that? I'm sorry.
No, I don't think so. The thing is that the first reading of the budget is presented as it is, and I don't think you can amend it now.
Okay. That's what I need to know. We can do it on the second reading.
Yes.
Right, let's go ahead and prove it then.
I make a motion we accept the first reading of approve the budget for the first reading.
I
Is there a
second.
second?
I second.
Madam
discussion?
Chairman, Madam Chairman, I would like to make an amendment that we approve the budget for first reading absent approval of reconfiguration. That's just what I would say until after we've had our meeting. So I think the $32 million balanced at that, I would agree to that on the first reading.
You want to exclude reconfiguration?
Yes.
Now, you just said we couldn't amend it. Now, how's she going to take that out?
If you couldn't amend the budget, you can amend the motion if it passes.
Well, we're going to take reconfiguration out of it.
But the budget is based on reconfiguration, so
Well, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
based on that.
So what?
There's a motion on the floor.
That's how we got to a balanced budget, was
But there-
considering
sure.
reconfiguration and
Sure.
what we could save from that, so.
But there are other ways. We haven't discussed salaries for many different areas, and so we haven't done that. So my motion to amend is to approve for first reading the budget amount.
Well, then I
listed as a
withdraw my
balanced
motion.
Well, let her finish saying it, because I can't hear it with you.
You said enough that I could withdraw the motion that I just made.
All right, okay.
So, I mean, you're going to take, never mind.
She always does it. You gotta stop it.
So are we going to make a motion tonight about the budget or not? That's my question.
So,
I would
so
make
I
the
understand, he
motion
withdrew his
for first
motion?
reading that we approve the 32 million and the numbers on there as a balanced budget without basing it on reconfiguration as yet, as we have not agreed to the reconfiguration. I don't think we can do that. So I would think that we can balance this budget. There are many ways that we can balance it. They are there. And I know when I'm saying many ways, there are many ways to reconfigure and we might even have greater savings, but we haven't discussed that. So my motion is for first reading to go ahead and approve that without the language of being based on reconfiguration.
But those numbers reflect reconfiguration, and if we're voting on those numbers, it reflects configuration. Now, you can't have it both ways. I mean, I'm not.
This comes down to why I asked the question in the first place. Until we vote on the reconfiguration, I don't see how we can legitimately vote on a budget that is based on something that we feel is flawed.
Well, it might be appropriate then for those board members who feel they can better figure out how to balance this budget than me and my staff, for us to stand down and let you all just come and tell us what you want us to do and how we can make up that budget, because we've done our due diligence. We've gone through every account. We've had countless meetings for months. And my senior staff, if you look out in the public, you can see that they're shaking their heads, yes, we've done our due diligence. If there's some magic bullet that we don't know about, if the board would point that out to us, I'm more than happy to do whatever the board wants us to do. Again, we tried to balance the budget without a millage increase, because we have not had a millage increase in 6.5 years in the operating budget. That's one thing. Two, we tried to balance the budget without touching fund balance, because we know that we've been told repeatedly that we need to have at least $5 million on hand at all times in the event that we didn't receive any monies from the federal or the state in order just to meet salaries for 3 months. And so we're trying to stay within that. If there's something else that the board would like for us to do that we haven't done, again, if the board comes up with the budget and you just want us to adopt it and move on, then we can do that. But again, we are holding up everything that we've done since March when I came with the reconfiguration to the board. We're spinning our wheels and we're not doing what's best for children. We're not doing what's best for our staff. We're trying to do everything we can to make sure that we can provide.
And I'm
That's
trying
all
to
we're
find a
trying to do.
compromise so that we could go forward. But at this point, I'm going to withdraw my motion as well, Mr. Coachman. I'm just going to withdraw it.
Should we add on the agenda for Wednesday night? Mr. Coachman, if you could stop laughing long enough.
I can't stop laughing.
Well,
You can't.
Should I add on the agenda Wednesday night, the 7th, the vote on the budget,
What's gonna change between now and Wednesday night?
the reconfiguration? I mean, we may have to take fund balance or whatever to accommodate not putting the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in the high school.
Ms. Parsons, why are we not
That's
having
not a
military?
part of the cost. That's not a part of the budget.
Why are we not just doing a military?
I don't know, you want me to say? You
I'm
want to,
just asking your,
you all haven't made a motion to have a millage increase.
so why are we not considering a millage increase? I know
We
everybody's
could.
scared they're gonna lose their seat if the taxes
I
are
could.
raised. But if, I think that was suggested to us once before, that we do a millage increase because Marlboro County is not gonna survive without it. So why are we not considering the millage increase?
Because
That's
every
what I'm
year
asking.
when we bring forth a millage increase, it's shot down. So we didn't even want to waste time or waste the board's time by bringing that forth. For 6.5 years, whenever we talked about whether it was 1%, 2%, 3% millage increase, 1 mill, 2, it's never, this board has made it very clear that no, we're not going to increase the millage for operating. So we have not done that. The millage has increased for capital projects, debt service, but not what we have to operate day to day. We've never increased that. So what we tried to do was, one, make sure that we've got all of our children in our best facilities so we can provide equity. And two, to make sure that we're looking at ways to trim off the budget where we can have enough money to do the things that we need to do and still balance the budget.
So if we had that millage increase, would we have to depend on reconfiguration?
You still probably would, because the mill right now, if I'm not mistaken,
It's like
was it-
$50,000.
It's 50,000 for us. That's what we received. So if we increased it to 9 mills, it's still not gonna be much money. It's not gonna make up that shortfall that we have of 1.2 million. It's not gonna make that up for us.
Mr. Parks, could you have for us on Wednesday night information that would give us the amount that would be needed to run the Bennettsville Intermediate School with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, which I think is the bone of contention to keep them out of the high school?
That's not included in this budget.
Exactly.
Well, no,
That's why I'm asking
I'm
you to-
saying the reconfiguration only addresses the Clio School of Discovery in the 6th grade
So this one is
from
include keeping BIS open.
BIS open at the Sherrill Street site.
With 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders?
3rd, 4th, and 5th graders there.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not even including BIS. There's no reason not to include it.
All right. Would you all like to make a motion to approve this budget? Or not?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this budget. One more time.
Then make it, okay?
There you go.
For first reading.
Yeah, let me try that again. First reading. I'd like to make a motion to approve this budget for first reading.
I second.
Any discussion?
We've had
All right, if you don't want discussion, then you want to vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right? And the motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Took a little working through, but thank you, Mr. Parks. All right. I'm sorry. All opposed. All right. And this is just first reading.
I understand that.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me about the nose. All right. Dr. Cobb, approval of professional staff contracts and compensation policy, GCB, the second reading.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Tiller, the administration, you have in your board packet professional staff contracts and compensation policies, GCB. The administration recommends policy GCB with the changes in red for second reading.
One of the changes here says that the district may negotiate salaries below the salary schedule for non-Terry retired teachers.
That's what you've been discussing.
Right.
Right. It gives the district that right.
We're waiting on that.
Vote needed.
Please waiting on vote.
I make a motion to, approve this professional staff contracts and compensation. These are changes that were recommended by the
School Board
Association.
Right.
Can you state that again? I could barely hear you.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I move to approve the professional staff contracts and compensation, GCB.
For second reading.
Is there a
I
second?
second.
All right, any discussion?
I call for the question.
All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And then, okay, everybody's, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Cobb. And revision in 2017-18 of the traditional and the extended year calendars.
To just jump ahead, Madam Chair, the administration recommends that the board approves making August the 21st, 2017 as a day off for staff and students. You have in your board packet background information concerning making that day a day off for staff and students. And if you notice about the fourth paragraph, the request is being made for several reasons, but the main reason is for the safety of staff and students. Another reason for the request is because the eclipse is scheduled to occur right in the middle of dismissal, and it could cause a lot of transportation issues and concerns. And if we have the day off, students will be able to safely observe the eclipse prior to and during totality as stated in the resolution. Also, in meeting with the teacher cabinet, which includes the teachers of the year, to accomplish this change for 2017-2018, there will be no day off on no day for school on the 21st of August. September the 21st is scheduled in the traditional calendar as a regular school day with parent conferences from 4 to 7 p.m. In the regular calendar that you have already approved, September the 22nd is scheduled as a day off for students, but parent-teacher conferences being held from 8 to 12. We're asking, and we made notation that we could allow for students to attend school on September 21st. September the 26th will be. What was that again? September 26th will be an early dismissal day for professional development. That would be the fourth Tuesday in September. So we're asking to let us switch September the 26th to the 22nd of September.
with parent-teacher conferences being held from 1 to 4, and that remaining as an early dismissal day on Friday, September 22nd. In doing that, we will find that the traditional calendar will still contain the correct number of days as it relates to regular days and parent conference days. That's for the traditional calendar. To accomplish it for the extended calendar, the school in McCall made August the 21st as a day off for staff and students, and moving the beginning of their intersession from September the 19th to September 20th. It was inconsequential for the extended day, but we had to do some finagling for August the 21st to be off for the traditional calendar. So therefore, the administration recommends that the board approves making August the 21st, 2017 as a day off for staff and students. You will also notice that I took the liberty to call local districts, and all of the districts in the field, for the most part, will be scheduling the 21st off as well.
I thought we were scheduling school to start early so our kids could learn about the solar eclipse, but they've decided it's too dangerous for them to be involved. Is that it?
Yeah.
Basically.
No, we actually are starting on the 17th. We're starting earlier so we can provide some instruction as well as during the summer program about that.
Right.
But we really felt that the risk to the school district and the liability to have them here on the 21st was pretty high. So, and it really is. But we're going to provide, for example, our science teachers, they're already receiving information, and also from ETV, where we can provide instruction regarding the eclipse. But again, we're trying to do what we feel is best, not only for our students, but also our bus drivers and everybody who would be involved.
And if you notice in your write-up as well, it says part of the first 2 days of school in Marlboro County will be devoted to learning about the eclipse, its rarity, and the safety precautions necessary to view it. The instructions will include how and when to view the eclipse, also the dangers associated with viewing it incorrectly.
Okay. Somebody make a motion?
Make a motion that the administration, we approve the school being out on August 21st, 2017, as a day off for students and staff.
We don't need discussion on this, do we?
No.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Did everybody, are you abstaining?
I am.
Oh, dear God. Okay.
Mr. Cobb.
All right, who's abstaining
Nan
other
is
than Ms.
abstaining.
Fleming?
Mr. Cobb, there's no Planet B.
No, what now?
Planet B?
We'll discuss that. There is no Planet B. This is the only planet.
You mean Plan B?
Plan B or Planet B, we'll discuss.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Can I get some of these special glasses so I can look at you?
I mean,
Sure, you can always order them. We
I
haven't
was so
ordered
hoping
them.
that the kids would be in school, but if you all see a danger, that was, I mentioned at the retirees, and I just think that would be, because
Did you
more
get the
than,
vote, Ms. Morris? Did you get the vote? Okay.
If you also notice, Ms. Fleming, there's a write-up in there about information from NASA.
I didn't get, I
warning us with
don't
viewing it
have that in
incorrectly.
my packet. I have to get somebody's own.
Well, NASA is warning people against looking directly at the eclipse because of the damage that it can do to the human eyes. NASA also warns that ordinary sunglasses, even with dark or polarized lenses, won't be enough to protect against possible eye damage. Only special filters or lenses should be worn to look directly at the solar eclipse as it occurs.
Stick a pen in a piece of paper and look at it. That's what we did the last time it came. Thank you. This is interesting. This is.
Dr. Tiller?
Thank you, Ms. Parsons.
Your superintendent's report?
Thank you, Ms. Parsons. In the board packet, I've included a copy of a letter from DHEC, which is focused on the school-based dental prevention program that our students will be able to take advantage of again this coming year. I just wanted to share that with the board. Also, I'd just like to extend a special thanks to our principals, teachers, bus drivers, and all support staff for a very smooth closing of school. I am very happy that once again we experienced that, and it's not something to take lightly. I'd also like to thank the staff and school board for participating in all the closing end of the year activities that we had, the retirement banquet, the promotion ceremonies at all schools. And if you didn't get to attend any of them, you missed a treat. They were just wonderful. I'd also like to thank Dr. Bunch and his staff and the senior staff and the board for a wonderful commencement ceremony on this past Saturday. And I thank the weatherman that the weather held off for us. And I do agree with Mr. Branch that maybe we need to have it earlier or have it later in the evening, one or the other. Today we started our 21st century summer school program, our bridge programs, and we're happy about that. Today we had about 80% participation and of the students that we've expected to participate in the summer program. And I'd just like to thank Mr. Farr for taking the initiative to apply for this grant, and we have been awarded that grant for each school. So this will allow us to provide summer instruction at each site from 8 until 4, and we will be providing lunch, transportation, we'll be providing instruction in ELA and in the reading area, and also the second half of the day will be focused on crafts and recreation, and one day a week we will take our students on a field trip around the state. So we're excited about that opportunity. In addition to that, we will be having some reading programs this summer and some other activities as well for our students. In addition to that, I'd just like to share with the board that I have been in contact with the police chief here in Bennettsville and also with the sheriff's department, with Sheriff Lemon and Chief Miller regarding SRO officers. So that's something else that we probably want to consider and take a look at that. And that concludes my report.
All right. Before we make a motion to go into executive session, I'd like to specifically thank Mr. Childs this evening because I nearly made a really bad FOIA violation. And FOIA means a great deal to me. It's Title 30, and when you get right down to it, FOIA is what keeps us free. You think about it when you go home, and I got caught up in the commotion and almost made what to me is a very serious breach of FOIA. And I thank you very much for getting us straightened out tonight. Now, I need a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters, contractual matters, new hires, resignations, high school petitions, and receipt of legal advice. I don't know why it says per Ms. Parsons' request. It's just, it's on the agenda. All right. Second. Is there a second? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Raise your right hand, everybody. Okay. All right. To go into open session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion's carried. No action was taken. No decision was made. We need to vote on resignations and new hires. Dr. Cobb.
Madam Chair, board members, the administration recommends approval of 4 resignations and 4 5.
Yes.
Okay. The administration recommends the approval of 4 resignations and 5 elections.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
5 resignations and for elections.
Uh-oh, okay. Now I move for that, okay.
All right, all in favor,
Sorry
please,
to lose some
please
of our
raise your
people.
right hand.
Sorry to lose them.
Motion's carried unanimously. Mr. Coachman?
Madam Chair, make a motion that we go home after we adjourn this meeting.
Second. All in favor, please raise your right hand.